morning, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome on board this special Southern service bound for Dunedin.
Welcome to the next installment of the train, Vicar. I'm on the current Southern train, the train that runs south from Christchurch to Timaru and Dunedin. The original Southerner actually ran between Christchurch and Invercargill, and it stopped in a whole few places in between, like Ashburton and Oamaru, and then further south in places like Mount Luther and Mataura, and Gore, of course. Shouldn't forget Gore, should we? Now, Kiwi Rail have decided to bring back the Southerner for just a few days in 2025, and it's just running between Christchurch and Dunedin with a stop in Timaru and Ralston. The prices are quite different as well from what they were in the olden days. They are a lot higher, more towards the high tourism market end. I used to travel quite often between Timaru and Dunedin on the Southerner, but not between Christchurch and Timaru. In fact, I've never travelled that distance by rail. So when I heard that Kiwi Rail are putting on the Southerner now, I thought it was the opportunity, and so I'm going just to Timaru because I've got a few things to do there, and then I'm going back by bus later on tonight.
From Christchurch, we were soon travelling southwards across the Canterbury plains. The railway line also crosses a few of the braided rivers. The Selborne River, for example, is normally dry, but the channel can flood easily after heavy rain, so that this bridge is essential. After the view from on board, here's a line-side view of the bridge with DXC 5212 at the front of the Southerner. The train reaches speeds over 100 kilometers per hour on the stretch and travels between Christchurch and Timaru in 2 hours. That's faster than in a car, at least if the car keeps to the speed limit. I really enjoyed my time on the train. It was a joy and really good riding such a train in New Zealand. If it weren't for the high prices, this would have been ideal. In Timaru, the railway station is still fully functional and ready to serve passenger trains again. It was great to see it being used. There were not that many passengers on board the Southerner that day, but most other services over the long weekend were full, and I was not even able to book a seat on some of the other services. Well, after I said the train goodbye, I did what I had to do in Timaru and then headed back on the bus that night. It was a rainy, cold night. The bus soon ran into problems. The front windscreen continuously fogged up internally, and the driver could hardly see the road ahead. We stopped quite often while more air was directed onto the windscreen and a piece of cloth was used to wipe it. Finally, a passenger used an umbrella to wipe the windscreen as the driver slowly made his way north. In Ashburton, the driver was able to get a different setting and there was less moisture on the windscreen, but the whole bus was awfully cold. I had a change of clothes with me and took them out of my backpack, draping them across me to try to stay somewhat warm. Well, we finally arrived in Christchurch after a 4-hour trip from Timaru. That's a delay of about 1.5 hours. Bus trip was dangerous, cold and long. I was quite shattered. We arrived at midnight in Christchurch. To be fair, after a complaint, the bus company returned me most of the cost of the ticket. Clearly, the train trip was a lot better than the bus trip.
As you can see, it's quite a convenient way to travel.
And like many others, I'm prepared to pay a bit more for it, but not 6 times the price of the bus. Long-distance bus services in New Zealand are uncomfortable and unreliable. It would be great if we would have a better passenger train system, with trains that are comfortable, reliable, and at least somewhat affordable. As so often, I'll finish with a brief theological reflection. In his book, The Cost of Discipleship, theologian Dietrich Bonhoeffer warned that cheap grace is not real, costly grace, and God's grace is costly. But he also made clear that the Christian life was a way to holiness and closeness with God that did not require asceticism, for example, through a monastic life, but rather that the Christian way of life is available to people from all walks of life, to those who put their trust in Jesus and follow him. It's not just for the elite. I would hope that train travel in New Zealand would also be available for everybody, including those with families.